So, welcome everyone to this information session on the CELTA. Okay, my name is Joëlle. I'll be leading the session this afternoon, which is a presentation about the CELTA at UCL. And I'm going to start by introducing myself briefly, first of all. So I'm the main course tutor on the CELTA course at UCL. So that means that I'm involved in the design and the delivery of the course here. So that means I teach on the course. So I'm one of the tutors. And briefly, a little bit about what I do, what else I do other than the CELTA. So I also work on the Cambridge Delta course, which some of you may have heard of here at UCL. I also work on the MA, the Master's Programme for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages for our pre-service students. And I've been teaching for quite a long time and training teachers. And so, without further ado, then, we'll get started on the session. I'll give you an overview briefly of what I'll be talking about in this afternoon's presentation. And so you should be able to see on my screen now what I'm going to cover. So I'll be giving an overview of what the CELTA is, for example, the syllabus, how assessment works. I'll give you an idea of what happens on the course. So we'll look at a sample of the timetable, talk about the workload, key course information, dates and things, and of course the application process. At the end of the session, we will have time for Q&A. So you're very welcome to ask me any questions and I'll answer those as well. Okay, so let's start by talking about what the CELTA is. The CELTA is a Cambridge English accredited and certified course. It's a type of TEFL course. So you may have heard of TEFL courses. There are many on the market, and CELTA is one of those. And CELTA is often described as the gold standard of TEFL qualifications. The qualification for CELTA, it gives you a level 5 qualification in the UK. Not all TEFL courses give you this. So this is one of the reasons that it's known as a valuable qualification in terms of what happens on the course and what it allows you to do once you're qualified. Cambridge's research does show that 75% of English language teaching jobs do require a CELTA or equivalent. So the word CELTA is very well known in the industry for that reason. It's recognised in lots of different countries. And if you're looking for employment, you'll notice that the word CELTA is used quite a lot because it's considered the basic qualification you need for employment within the industry. Okay, so the CELTA designed as an initial teacher training qualification, and so it gives you essential subject knowledge to teach. And it's a very practical course, and the course trains you to teach adult learners of English. So you spend a lot of time in the classroom during the course, and it's practical. And that means that you have the opportunity to develop your practical teaching skills and apply them in the classroom, in a real classroom situation with genuine learners of English. So this is one of the reasons that the CELTA is considered very valuable by employers, because employers know that you've spent time in the classroom, you've had feedback on your teaching, and you've developed skills. You've watched other teachers teach as well. And a considerable amount of the course is spent either teaching or observing. And I'll get more into that shortly by explaining, how the timetable works. Okay, so that gives you an overview of what the CELTA sort of covers and what it is. So who the CELTA is for. And so, as I mentioned, it is designed as an initial teaching qualification. So it is good for new teachers, so people without any teaching experience. And I found over the years, though, that actually often we have teachers on the course who do actually have teaching experience already. So it's quite common on the courses I work on to have a combination of people new to the industry and people who perhaps have taught in other contexts, perhaps in mainstream education or in other subjects. And so they may come with existing teaching skills. And I actually find that this makes for a very good course because you have people from with different levels of experience, different backgrounds, and everybody has something to offer. So people from different industries with different backgrounds can bring fresh insights, and generally, I find that this does enrich the discussions that we have on the course. And the course is very collaborative. You'll be very active and involved in discussions throughout the course. So in terms of level of English to qualify and join the course, all participants will need to have a C1 level of English and above. So if you're studying at university already in the UK, that level of English is kind of a given that you'll have that level. Okay, so let's move on then and talk a little bit about the syllabus on the CELTA course and the assessment. So you can see on the screen here, these are the 5 topics on the Cambridge CELTA syllabus. You'll find this information online as well. But what I'll do is explain a little bit about how we integrate these topics into the course. So the assessment throughout the course is continuous. So what this means is that there is no final exam at the end of the CELTA course. You are assessed throughout the course. There are 2 ways in which you are assessed, and these are Cambridge. This is a Cambridge stipulation, of course. So you'll be assessed on teaching practice and on 4 written assignments. So first of all, teaching practice. This is really a core component of the assessment and what happens on the course. So you will be teaching learners of English in the afternoons on the course, and you'll be observed and you'll be observing other people. Before a lesson on grammar or vocabulary, you would have to analyse some language first in preparation for your lesson. So you can see the topic here, language analysis and awareness, is tested through teaching practice. Now you can see here we've got the assignments are mentioned under each topic. So let me take an example of one of the written assignments. So in the first assignment on the course, you will analyse some language for teaching purposes. So we will, in our sessions, our classes with you, we will teach you how to analyse language for teaching. Then you will do an assignment where you analyse language. We give you some feedback on how you've done. That's one of the assignments. So the course is developing all of these skills and you're being assessed on them. So with these 4 written assignments, the course is 4 weeks, so you do 1 assignment per week. We develop these skills with you, you submit an assignment and we give you feedback. Now, if the assignment doesn't quite meet the assessment criteria, you have the opportunity to resubmit the assignment. This is because the course is developmental. Although we're assessing you, we also, of course, we're developing your teaching skills. So, the development and the assessment are happening throughout the course. And so this is, the opportunity to resubmit assignments is something, that Cambridge have stipulated that, you are able to resubmit assignments. So it's not just about testing your abilities through the course. There's a huge focus on developing as a teacher. Okay, so that's a little bit about how assessment works. Um, Throughout the course, you will get a lot of feedback. So, feedback is a really core component of what you'll be experiencing. So, after you've taught a lesson, we discuss the lesson with your peers. You write a reflection on the lesson, and then the following day, your tutor will give you individual written feedback directly to you. And then you can focus on your areas to work on, and make progress throughout the course. Okay. And we're very transparent with all our candidates throughout the course. So, feedback happens at all points in the course. So you're not waiting till the end of the course to find out how you've performed on the course. It's, the feedback is throughout as the assessment is continuous. Okay. Um, let's move on then to look a bit more at the timetable. So you have a better understanding of what a week on the CELTA would look like. So I've taken a week here from the course for you to see. So you can see the 5 days and the times across the left. I'll give you just a moment to have a look at that, and I will then explain some of the components on here. Okay, so in the mornings, as you can see, we have sessions. These are input sessions mostly. So input is sessions led by your tutors and with the candidates, the teachers on the course, where you will learn about either language or teaching methodology. So the sessions are very collaborative, and they're not lectures. And the tutors demonstrate techniques to you that you're expected to use when you're teaching. So you get to experience those techniques, evaluate them, and you can put them into practice in your own teaching. You'll also notice here that we have an observation here that there are a couple of opportunities on the course for you to visit a local language school for adults. This means you get to see a class outside of UCL, with real paying students in a different environment. And of course, that's a really nice opportunity to see people at work in this industry with other learners, other than the ones you'll be teaching on the course. You'll also notice there's tutorials. So you'll have a couple of tutorials, individual tutorials on the course as well. Okay, so those are the mornings. After lunch, we then have teaching practice. So real learners that we recruit for they're volunteers. They come along for the classes. At the beginning of teaching practice, you will see one of your tutors, me or one of my colleagues, and you will see us teach the students first. So you get to see them, you get to meet them, and then you get to prepare lessons for them. We give you lots of guidance with lesson planning. We give you materials. You can adapt them for the group as appropriate. So for teaching practice, we are split into smaller groups. So maximum 6 people in a group. And you can see here A, B, C, D, E, F. So A, B, and C teach on Tuesdays, DEF teach Wednesdays, etc. So you can see that one person teaches twice a week. If you are A, you teach on Tuesday and Thursday. On the day you're not teaching, so maybe Wednesday and Friday, you will be observing the class. Okay, so you can see this is every afternoon with a group of learners. After the learners have left, we discuss the lessons and then we get ready for the next day. These feedback discussions at the end of the day are really valuable. This is led by the teachers with the tutors' input. We reflect and we think about what we've learned and how we move forward. So you can see that during the CELTA course, there is a lot of contact time with your tutors. You see us every day. We get to know each other very well over the 4 weeks. Okay, so I hope that gives you a sort of idea of what the course looks like. So I'm going to sort of summarise some key components of the course. So I've mentioned that we have input from tutors. They're collaborative. We look at techniques for teaching. Every CELTA requires you to teach for a total of 6 hours over the 4 weeks. You do have some practice sessions as well that aren't assessed to help you, orientate yourself to the learners and teaching. You also observe experienced teachers. So not only your colleagues, but you also externally or an experienced tutor like myself. We have a couple of recordings that we use as well. So lots of observing going on, lots of feedback, and of course, lots of support with lesson planning and tutorial support and consultation. Okay, so that gives you an overview of what is required and what we provide you with on the course at UCL. So let's look at just some key information about the course coming up in 2026. So the start date is the 29th of August and the course is 4 weeks. Because of the August bank holiday, we are going to start on the Saturday, the 29th. Then we have a weekend, the Sunday and the Monday, where there are no classes. Then we continue Monday to Friday for the remainder of the course. Actually, this bank holiday weekend does work quite well for us. It's nice to have day one, meet everybody, have a weekend, or after orientating yourself, maybe look at some of the documentation of the course. So that fits quite nicely. The deadline for applications is the 12th of June. We would recommend definitely getting applications in before that if you're interested in applying. We did fill the course quite quickly last year, and we are receiving applications already. So if you're interested, I would recommend getting an application in sooner rather than later. Now, the CELTA is 4 weeks. You can find other courses, CELTA courses on the market that are part-time. You can find courses that are online. The course that we are offering is the 4-week full-time intensive course. It's the most common way to do the course overall, but there are other options if you look at other institutions. What I will say about the 4-week course is it is full-time. It is an intensive course. So if you're applying to do a 4-week course, you need to think about if this is definitely the right time for you to do the course, because it is a commitment. it's intensive. It's hard work to do a teacher training course in 4 weeks. However, what I will say is that the course is very rewarding. It's, you're working with each other in a very collaborative environment and with genuine learners. And the teaching practice is a really rewarding experience if you like teaching or you think you might do. And it's really overall an enjoyable experience if it's the right time for you to do the course. You can't have any other major commitments during this time. You're at UCL during the day, as you can see, and then in the evenings and weekends, you'll be working on a lesson plan or writing an assignment. So, yeah, it's intense, hard work, but rewarding and a valuable experience. Okay, so the application process, to apply, you can apply online on our website, which you've probably all found as you're all here today. Once we receive an application, we arrange an interview. The interview will take place online. There is a written task to do as part of the interview process. We have to do that, and that's a Cambridge requirement. Once you've been interviewed, we will tell you if we're going to offer you a place on the course. You'll pay your fees to secure your place on the course, and then you will be enrolled on the course. Okay, so that gives you an overview of the application process. I would like to just deal with a couple of frequently asked questions that people will typically ask. And the first one I've already mentioned already, that you will be teaching real learners of English on the course. And we do recruit volunteer students. They know that you're trainee teachers, and they're usually, well, they're always actually very motivated. They're volunteering. They want to improve their English. And as I mentioned, teaching practice is a really rewarding experience. We're helping the learners, they're helping us, so it's the most rewarding part of the course. The second question, so how to prepare for the course. We do, once you've enrolled on the course, we do send you a pre-course task to work on the run up to the start of the course. This is actually supplied by Cambridge. It's just a self-study task, so it's not something you need to submit to us, but it helps you. Everybody does the task and everybody comes onto the course with the same basic knowledge. It will cover some areas of language and language skills so that you know the topics and what to expect to a certain extent. And then finally, in terms of finding work, I often get asked this question because, of course, people do the CELTA with a view to work as an English teacher. So the answer to this question, it really depends on where you're looking for work. As I mentioned, the CELTA enables you to potentially work in a lot of different countries across the world. For myself, I've worked in Canada, I've worked in Vietnam, I've worked in Malaysia, and I've worked actually mostly in the UK. So it's well known across the world. Of course, finding work depends on market conditions in a particular place, perhaps exchange rates and various different kinds of things. So it's not necessarily an easy question to answer because, of course, it depends where you're looking, the kind of institutions you're looking to work at. But as you know, and as I've explained, the CELTA, it is well known. So it is often considered a basic entry level into the industry.